Jennifer is a care services coordinator for the ALS Association Greater Chicago chapter. She is the developer and facilitator of the Always Loved and Supported Bereavement Support Group. She is a licensed clinical social worker and has been in practice for over 14 years. Jennifer has a personal connection to ALS as she lost her grandfather to the disease in 2002. Jennifer will explain anticipatory grief and what to expect in children.
Thank you so much, Joanna. I appreciate that introduction. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I am so honored to be here with all of you tonight. All right. Well, again, thank you all for letting me join you tonight and talk to you about this, this topic. I am here to talk to you all about anticipatory grief, specifically in children. A lot of what I'm going to talk about kind of spans through children, teenagers, adults. All right, so anticipatory grief is essentially the grief that happens before the death. It refers to a wide range of thoughts and feelings that accompany the sense of impending loss. For youth, it may take forms. Depending on the age of the children, it may affect their overall functioning, that of the family, and their understanding of the illness to date. So I want to say before I talk about these responses that everyone's grief journey is different and unique to them. And there's no timeline for grief. And it's just very specific to each person. It's specific to each family. And, after this slide, I'll talk a little bit about responses or how to help. And again, this all just varies from family to family, from person to person. Only you know what's best for your family, but just kind of an overall, just some information to help you get through maybe some difficult times. So a lot of these are going to be kind of self-explanatory and kind of expected. Some symptoms or responses, I should say, some responses to grief could include sadness around the upcoming loss or the losses, preoccupation with the person who is sick or their needs or just their overall well-being. Anger can be very common, and it's okay. There could be anger about the changes that are going on, and that could constantly be changing, as you all know. Confusion as to why someone with ALS is sick, or confusion as to what's going on. And I also forgot to mention that a lot of these will also vary on the ages for the children, maybe young children to teenagers at all, their responses will vary. And I think some of the other presenters are going to go in more detail about what to expect at each age group. But loneliness could occur, helplessness, hopelessness, that most likely that they can't change the fact that the person is sick. Guilt. A lot of times children will think that the person's illness is their fault, or guilt surrounding that they can't do anything and they can't help or they can't fix it. Fear, of course, could be a response to grief. Worrying about other family members passing. Anxiety, of course, could be coming up for them about why things change, when things change. Isolation. Sometimes kiddos aren't comfortable talking about how they're feeling. Irritability could be a response as well. A heightened sensitivity to noise, light, conflict, change, other people's feelings. A rehearsal of the death could be something that they think about when they're trying to process everything that's going on. Physical issues such as changes in their sleep patterns, headaches, stomach aches, maybe sometimes tightness in the chest. And they also may have difficulty focusing, concentrating, or remembering things. And they also might feel some frustration. Balancing hope with, the reality of what's going on might be really difficult for them. Okay, so some ways to help. Like I said a little bit ago, everything is dependent on the family dynamics. It depends on the individual. So these are just kind of some overall helpful ideas, and to help you kind of navigate how to help them with all their big feelings. So providing the child with age appropriate information about all aspects of what's going on: physical, mental, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, inviting them to ask questions and answering honestly and age appropriate, which again, that's going to be expanded on a little bit later. Another thing I would add to this is, and I think I might actually bring it up a little bit later, but answering honestly, allowing them to ask questions, and allowing them to feel whatever it is that they're feeling, the anger, the sadness, allowing them to feel that is really important for them as well. Oh, I guess I'm ahead of myself. The next one is allowing them to express their emotions as necessary. Helping them feel valid in their feelings, letting them know that it's okay that they feel that way. Allowing the child to be involved in the level of care that it's comfortable for them. And again, also age appropriate. I think all of these could be, as age appropriate, and also whatever, we also want to take into consideration the comfort level of the person that has ALS, or whatever they're comfortable with as well. Reaffirming that they will be cared for, that they will always be cared for. And then, providing an opportunity to say goodbye in a way that's helpful to the child or the young person, whatever that looks like for the family, whatever's most comfortable. I know comfortable is kind of a hard word. That's an uncomfortable conversation, but it can be really helpful for them later on. When talking with your child, teenager, young adult, again, all age appropriate, but using simple and clear language is very helpful. If we, as with anything, if we use bigger words, it'll be confused and, could make it more difficult for them. When they're asking a lot of questions, and it's okay to not have the answers or not really sure what to say. You can say to them that you're not really sure at the moment, or you could also say to them, in modeling your feelings, you could say to them that you're having a difficult time in the moment, and that you will come back with them and talk about it again some more. Kind of going off what I just said, do not be afraid to express your emotions in front of the child. That's good modeling for them. If they see you managing your emotions, that will help them to do that as well. I think some parents or caregivers, grandparents may want to protect their child from pain and want to maybe keep them away from that. I think it's best to not to do that, to really have these open and honest conversations as much as you can and as much as you're comfortable with. It's also important to continue daily structure and extracurricular activities. That being said, I absolutely know how difficult that is, and sometimes it might not always be possible, but if it's possible, it's really beneficial for them to maintain their routines as much as possible. Another helpful thing, if your kiddos are in school, is to make sure that the child's teacher is aware of the diagnosis, so that if something occurs at school, or if the child wants to talk at school, and the teacher's aware, and they could also bring in, maybe the school social worker or school counselor if needed, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page and is able to provide the appropriate support. Continue to make memories, as much as possible, and maybe making a special remembrance book, or taking videos of memories. They can look back on them whenever they want to. Having hope for the future, and talking about that. And the next bulletin right there is, maybe talking, if you have older children, maybe talking with the older children about their future plans with the person could be really beneficial for them later on as well. So when I sat down to do this presentation, it didn't hit me until I sat down that I was actually a child that had anticipatory grief. It was grieving as a child. And so I just super briefly, I just wanted to share with you that this is my grandpa. I think Joanna said this in my introduction, but my grandpa was diagnosed with ALS when I turned 13. And then passed away a few weeks before my 18th birthday. And so, like I said, when I sat down to write this presentation, I thought about, what went, in terms of my mom helping me grieve, what worked, what didn't work. Some thoughts that I had was that I remember my mom always told me the truth, which I feel really helped me in the long run. and my family, we did our best to make as many memories as we possibly could. I remember going to Disney World with my grandpa. We put him in a wheelchair and wheeled him around. And so that's a really good core memory that I have. One interesting thing that my mom shared was that, so I have a younger brother who's 2 years younger. One interesting thing that she shared is that my brother and I responded differently than what she had expected. And so, that might be the same. Any parents or caregivers, grandparents out there, that might be the same for you. And it kind of goes back to, allowing children to express themselves, whatever they're feeling, and, kind of meeting them where they're at. I actually, in preparation for this, I called my mom and asked her if she had any great insight about, being a parent to, so this was her father. So I asked her if she had any great insight looking back on what she could have done differently, or what she thought she did well. And the very first thing, without hesitation, that she said was that she wished she would have taken better care of herself. And I could not agree more. I could spend a whole webinar talking about this, but very briefly, because I don't want to take up all the presenters' times. But one thing she said was that the only thing that she said was that she wishes she would have taken care of herself a little bit better, and given herself some space to grieve. I really like this quote here, that, taking care of myself doesn't mean me first, it means me too. A lot of times when I talk to folks, I remind them that, when you're on an airplane and they're going over the safety protocols, and they say, if the pressure in the cabin changes, the masks are going to come down. You got to put your mask on first before you can help someone else. This applies here. I would encourage everybody to make sure that you are also taking care of yourself. I know that your plates are extremely full, but the best you can, take some time to yourself, whether that's just getting out and doing something that you enjoy for a little bit, or going to doctor's appointments, or whatever it is that brings you joy. Please spend a little bit of time doing that, and allowing yourself some time to grieve. If you need to see a therapist, or if you just need to meet a friend for coffee, I would encourage you to do that. But that was, actually, I didn't ask if we were going to share these resources, but I can ask. I have some resources and support that I can share with everybody, and some books if anyone's interested. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. Thank you all so much.